throughout all of time and all of space, there will only be one you. And until you decide that you deserve to feel good, no job, no money, no nothing will ever give you what you want. You have to want it for you. Every day, continue to ask yourself, how do I feel? And how can I best support myself in this moment? We have to choose to decide that it's okay to feel good. It is okay to actually want to feel good.
I don't even believe that time is linear at all. I mean, what even is past? It's just something in your brain. Like every memory is created in the now. Every future, vision of, I want to do this and that tomorrow is created in the now. So there is only now. You should do this type of work where you go deep into a trauma, deep into a bad emotion. You should do it consciously. But if you don't have the time and you're at work right now and you linger on something and you can't really be there for yourself right now fully, then it makes no real sense to linger on these things, because your body, it's just like, oh, it's now. Now is the thing that happened. It's happening again.
My biggest job is to keep falling back in love with all aspects of me. The minute I fall out of love with a part of myself, the minute I blame or shame a part of myself, I would be looking for validation in someone else. Any aspects of myself that I have not accepted, I will be literally desperately demanding that those parts get loved and attention from other people outside of myself.
Welcome back, guys, to the Kotodama podcast. I have with me today Josephine McGrail. She is an internationally recognized wellness coach. She's a transformational healer. She's a motivational speaker. She's a yoga facilitator with over 20 years of experience. Guys, this is going to go on and on. It's a long introduction. She is also a former ballerina, which is so cool. And she transitioned from the world of performance to wellness, healing, and coaching. And she's also an author. She wrote 3 books. And she's also the co-founder of a global retreat collective, Nordic Sisters. And she was featured in Forbes, The Observer, Fast Company, and more. She helps a lot of people to kind of find their real purpose. And I'm so excited. Thank you so much, Josephine, for being on.
Oh my God, Jana, it's such a joy to meet you here today. I'm really looking forward to this, so thank you.
Me too. So before we started recording, Josephine, you were already kind of psychically, intuitively telling things like that you kind of knew that I would be early to this call because I forgot about the time difference. And we have a baby on the call as well. Oh my goodness, who is that?
This is Buddha the dog. Yeah, I know. And I really hope listeners out there, you're gonna view her, not just listen, because she is insanely cute.
Absolutely, they're gonna view it. My main is YouTube. My main thing that I do. I'm also on Spotify, but I do like the visual. So yeah. Oh my God, so lovely. I love it. I love that Buddha is joining us. But yeah, you are very, very intuitive. I feel like you have some psychic abilities there as well that come through, because I was in fact too early to this call because I forgot about the time difference. I mean the summertime, because I'm in Japan and you're in the UK. So can you tell me a little bit? You used to be a ballerina. Okay, look, you probably get this question all the time. I know you also have your own podcast, right? I saw that as well. And so I don't want to, you don't have to go too deep if you're annoyed about the question, but how did you end up after being a ballerina, and then now you're doing intuitive healing and all that stuff? How did that happen?
Yeah, so of course, and I would love to say that it was just, one thing that happened and now I'm here. Of course, it's always a collection of experiences, right? But if we go back in time a little bit, so I was 9 years old when I auditioned for the Royal Danish Ballet. And for the first many years, it was the most fairy tale, incredible adventure of my life, and I felt extremely blessed. And then when I was going into being around, I think, what was I? It was 12 or something. The pressure of performance, because at the Royal Danish Ballet, you have to pass an exam every single year, and if you don't pass the exam, not only are you not allowed to continue your ballet education at the Royal Danish Ballet, but you actually get completely removed, which means your academic school disappears, all of your friends disappears, and your dream of becoming a ballerina disappears, right? So since I was very, very little, I was under immense pressure, not only to perform and to become something, but even my basic instincts of survival was super turned on. It had to be, because if I did not pass that exam, life as I knew it would be completely taken away from me. You need to understand that little bit of background, because then I think my whole life makes a lot more sense. So
Wow.
at the age of 12, this pressure got more and more intense. And whenever we would have a holiday, where most kids really look forward to having a holiday, I would get really stressed out, because I would be like, but we worked so hard to achieve this. We were trained as athletes, right? We worked so hard to accomplish this level, and if I now have a holiday of 7 weeks, which was over the summer, I'm gonna lose everything, and then by the time I get back, I'll have to work even harder to make no sense. So every time there was a holiday, I would get really worried, and so back in the oh wow, this would have been like mid-90s, I started looking through my mom's magazine, and I was like, what can I do? I was in Copenhagen. At this point, yoga was not a mega big trend. It was kind of like a cult thing. But it had started to sort of reach out into other areas of the public as well. And so I was reading this article in my mom's magazine about power yoga, and it was on at a local gym, and I called up and I was like, please, well, can I come? And they were like, how old are you? And I was like, I'm 12. And they said, well, sorry, sweetie, but anyone below the age of 15 is actually not allowed to come into the gym. And then I just shared my whole story of I'm at the Royal Danish Ballet. They're going to kick me out if I don't sustain my level. Will you please allow me to work out with your power yoga thing? And long story short, Janum, I went to that one yoga class. I hated everything. I was extremely strong as a ballerina, but all of a sudden needing to have arm strength, chest strength, being upside down. There was no music. I was like, this is terrible. But I was like, but at least I get to move my body and build strength, which is good. But at the end of it, for those that are new to yoga, at the end of a yoga class, we normally always finish by grounding and integrating everything that we've experienced. And so the whole yoga practice always ends with us lying on the ground. And it was the same in this yoga class. So at the ripe age of 12, this incredible yoga teacher taught us through a beautiful body relaxation, like known as a yoga nidra. And even though I was only 12, I don't know, sometimes it's the right place at the right time, the right ingredients. You've reached a place within yourself where you are willing and ready to accept something. And I was there, and yeah, I was only 12. But I had this incredible, I guess some people would call it an awakening. For me, it was kind of like an epiphany. It was the only other time, apart from when I was on stage dancing, where I thought of nothing. I just felt like I didn't identify as anything. I was just everything, everywhere, anytime, any place, and I was nothing, no one, nowhere. And so, yeah, I just sort of released and relaxed and freed, and somehow in that brief moment of time with the sunshine this afternoon, the sun shining through the blinds and the little specks of sun all around the studio in the colors of the rainbows. And I just had this brief moment of going, I have no idea what's going on, but this amazing woman, managed to get all of us into a state of such deep bliss and such deep peace that I had this huge desire. I was like, I don't know how and I don't know when, but one day I will be the one guiding others into this state that she just guided me into. And that was it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, I just had like goosebumps when you said that. I could really feel that, honestly. So that's wild that you had that realization at 12. Oh my goodness.
Right.
Because I guess that's, a kind of meditation that's often included in yoga practices. I mean, I'm not a yoga, I don't know too much. I did it a few times in my life. It's not really for me, but the meditation I love. And so I kind of like, I see there what you mean by the blissful state, but having that at 12 in our kind of culture, in the Western culture, it's super rare. So it was meant to be, I guess. But then the pressure of the ballerina world. I mean, sorry, just to go back there. Because there's like an author that I love, Amélie Nothomb. She used to live in Japan. She's from Belgium, Belgium. She's from Belgium, but talks about Japan and stuff. And she used to be a ballerina, and she talks about the eating disorders that she had and the pressure of that kind of life. And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
but when you were, so you were a ballerina until what age, if I may ask?
Yeah, of course. So, I mean, I continued dancing until I was in my late 20s. That was my really like my full-time profession, alongside then at that point more and more yoga, more and more coaching, etc. But the Royal Danish Ballet, I decided to leave. I left by my own will, not because I really wanted to, but at that point, when I was 16, we'd just gotten a new ballet teacher who was sort of our main teacher, and I went from loving ballet, even the pressure. I'm a really passionate human being and I'm very ambitious. So for some reason, this world kind of worked for me. I was one of those kids that even after 12 hours of dance, I'd be like, what, can we do more? Like I was such a fireball of energy. So, even though it was intense and yes, there was pressure, as long as I had teachers that believed in me and it was supportive, then I could do it. But then the last 2 years of me being there before I then ended up deciding to leave, we got this new teacher, and it's important to the story to just remind everyone that, we can look at anything as the end of something or the beginning of something new. And looking back now, I am so appreciative that I got this teacher, because this teacher from day one, I went from being the student that all the teachers normally celebrated and loved because I was hardworking and I was always in a good mood. They were like, "Yes, Josie will go far." And then this new teacher walks in and she takes one look at me and she just goes, "No." And I knew it and she knew it, and we both had this instant. She was like, "It's just a no." Like she didn't say it,
Mm.
but I knew. And since that one day, it was the beginning of the end. I had 2 years of complete emotional abuse, but it was the best thing that ever happened, because had she not been like that, I wouldn't have had this realization inside of me that was like, she's taking everything away from me. But now, even the one thing that I never thought anyone could take away, which was my joy of dance. When I started to notice, I don't even want to dance anymore. Like, I was like, I have to pull myself out of this. And that was the ignition, another awakening, right? So because of her, that's really how I left. And so I left in the middle of the night. Didn't say goodbye to anyone, felt extremely ashamed because, at 16, when you think, all your peers are like, oh, Josie's the one, she's the one we can rely on and depend on, and she's the leader, and, she's got all these amazing qualities. And all of a sudden I was like, oh, wow, um, this is not going to be my future. And the only thing I can do to gain some kind of empowerment and get my joy of well, not just dance, but life back, is to leave. So I left that, which was my biggest dream, in the middle of the night. Yeah, literally ran in while everyone else was in dance class, picked up all my stuff from my little wooden locker and ran out, like tears rolling down my cheeks. I felt so embarrassed. I felt like a complete failure. And I didn't even say goodbye, which I'm not proud of, but we do what we have to do when we have to do it. And that was really what set me off. So, set me off in the sense of, all of a sudden my world went from being the most beautiful old theater in Copenhagen, but just Copenhagen and Denmark is a really tiny place, right? My world opened up because I ended up deciding getting into a beautiful dance school here in London. And that was really the beginning of this whole new chapter of me traveling the world, starting to fall more and more in love with all aspects of myself, not just the ones that I thought fit best. Yeah, so that's kind of, she was really I call her the dragon. Everyone needs a dragon. We have many dragons in life. And honestly, the dragon awakes within us our hidden qualities if we are open to it. Otherwise, of course, the dragon can just destroy us, right? Fire is fire. Fire can empower or destroy, can illuminate, or, again, completely just put you on fire. Yeah.
Absolutely. I always say, one of the things I always say on this podcast, but also in my private life, is like, pain is always the biggest catalyst in people's lives. Or if you are ready to change something, it is the biggest catalyst. And sadly, we are so used to people telling us we have to endure pain that I feel like we often stay in situations way too long. more than we were supposed to, whatever that means. Okay, obviously you have free will, you can do whatever you want, and you can endure as much pain or, kill yourself in the process. But I believe what we're meant to do is, once we feel pain and we realize this is not really what we're supposed to do, we're supposed to move on. But as humans and in this society, we just like, no, but my father expects this of me, and my mother told me that this, and my boss wants that, and I have children to care for, and whatever people's things and commitments are. And it's absolutely understandable, and all these human, things that we go through. But I love how you call it dragon, because because I love dragons from like fantasy world stuff. So
Me
it has
too.
like okay, love it, because it's kind of like this positive spin on it all, right?
Totally. Hmm.
Instead of this
That's
like
it.
enemy of your life, it's like a person who gives you the catalyst that changes your life for the better. Is that how you feel about it?
100%. The key to freedom, the key to something new. And I really love what you just touched on, because it's so true. The old world mindset was, and many people say that, the saying, no pain, no gain, or, anything worthwhile, it will be a strain and will be hard. And I'm like, no, absolutely no. Like who told us so? Well-meaning people, society, mentors, etc., parents, but that's only because they didn't know,
Mhm.
and I really
Yeah.
agree, because for me it's like, you know, like you said, you're walking down the street, and if all of a sudden the road is blocked, yeah, that's going to be momentarily annoying, but honestly, that blockage is only there as redirection. Take a different route. It's that simple. But like you said, we've attached so much, and also we have to remember that going back thousands of years, you know I don't believe in the beginning of times we were all just walking around going with this like negative bias in the mind. I was like, oh, let's look at the risk, right? But then for, power is power. And all of a sudden human beings were like, oh, if I start to instill fear in you, then you will get this weird mindset where you're kind of attached and obsessed with fear and pain. And you attach so strongly to it that when you recognize that it's there, you're like, oh, I'm just going to cling to it even more, instead of going, no, this is actually, it's a roadblock, and yet roadblock only was there for your highest good, to go, hey, take a different route. So I love what you're touching on, and I know it's so much easier said than done. Of course it is, but I'm so with you, Janem. Is everything that I'm about, exactly 100%.
Yeah, and
Life is supposed to be joy filled. Yeah. Mm.
yeah, and I love it, and I can feel it from you that you're in the flow. Basically, I also feel like what you touched on earlier with the in that meditation practice with the yoga, that you kind of were feeling bliss, and I feel like it's the same or similar to being in the flow, which is what
Hmm.
I'm in right now, because this is what I love doing. And I recently started this, so for me it's still like 2 months or 2.5 months that I'm doing this thing, but I've always wanted to. And so, so I'm thinking a lot about this purpose and, being in the flow. And you can be in flow state in doing so many different things. We don't have to be just one thing. Like you said, you are a dancer, but you're also a coach, and you're also an author,
Mm.
and you do all these, so many things. And so how can people, because I love these spiritual concepts as well, and I do a lot of deep like shamanic healing and stuff, but I also like to bring it always back to the simple human kind of, what can someone do, because I guess, for example, in Japanese society, people are really used to enduring pain. It's almost like it is a badge of honor. I don't want to offend anyone, but I'm sure my Japanese listeners will understand what I mean here. It's kind of like people often see it as a good thing to go through pain for
Mm.
something that they deem as good. And so how can people really get more in touch, with what their true purpose is? Because it's such a big thing. What's my purpose? What am I supposed to do in this life? How do I quit my job, or how do I quit this thing or this marriage or whatever people are in? So I don't know, this is a big question, but what can people do as a first step to even realize what they want really? And,
Okay, so there's a lot here, as you said, but I think first of all, we live in a society, and that's not only culturally, but I think as a world as a whole. We live in these busy cities where most of the time we are so out of touch with our physical bodies. We are also taught to not listen to our senses. Not senses in terms of, cognitive, hey, are you by your senses, but as in our senses, how is your stomach feeling? Oh, do you keep having headaches? Oh, you have an ankle injury that won't disappear? Right? Or, oh, you can't digest your food. And sorry if I'm offending anyone, I really don't mean to. But we all grow up in this society that goes, more is more, and just keep going, and then we're constantly distracting ourselves, right? So we live in a time with an overload of information, our access to information, but also what is required of most people, the amount of information that most people nowadays are required to constantly respond to is so highly impacting and really making most of our nervous system malfunction, because the overload of information, these teeny tiny beeps all the time, is so much that my long story short is we need to get back to the body, and we need to start checking in with how is my body feeling. And that's something that's very tangible. And that's what I really love. So we can take these spiritual concepts, but we can ground them in the body, because guess what? The spiritual is in the body. It's not outside of our body. And so your body, our body, is a collection of, they say whoever they are, it's 55 trillion cells of light. But if we just call it, each and every cell of our being holds its own intelligence. And the intelligence of your body is always trying its absolute best to do everything it can for your optimal health and your optimal wellness. Your body is always on your side. So if all of a sudden you're getting a headache when you're with someone, or you leave a situation, you leave your work, and you're noticing that, your energy levels are really low, or you keep getting an eye infection and it just won't go away, all of these physical signs, which are really like evidential, tangible, easy to work with. This is not your body trying to punish you for not doing a good enough job at being a human. This is your body going, hey, like, we need a little downtime. We need to do a little check in with ourselves here. And so the first, I would say, step one for everyone is to daily, ideally in the morning and also at night, but if you're only going to do one, do it in the morning, before you even get out of bed. The first 17 seconds of being awake sets the tone for the entire day. So when you wake up and your brain is in a state of receptivity, you're not quite awake. And before you are fully awake, what's so nice is that your brain is kind of like, who am I? Like, you're kind of coming back from dream state, right? In dream, you're like, anything is possible. And then it's that moment where you're about to blink your eyes open, maybe one is half open. And in that state, if you can already there start to plant some positive statements, maybe it's just a little, before the world sort of swamps you with responsibility and risk and this and that, and you're just waking up in that pure, innocent state of possibility. That's the moment to just remind yourself about just one or two things that are actually really good in your life right now. That's step one. And then step two, before you even get out of bed, just, place a hand on your heart, your actual physical heart. So right now I'm doing the chest, but actually find your physical heartbeat, relax the belly, relax the shoulders, and take a moment to really just drop into your heartbeat. Notice, is it fast? Is it slow? Does it feel really urgent, or is it kind of like, just a nice little chill? Take a moment to notice, how is my heart feeling? Take a few breaths into your heart. And with each inhale, you can just ask your heart, ask your body, how do I feel? And with each exhale, just allow for the answer to land. And the answer can be, it can be anything. It can be a color. The answer can come as a color, an image, a memory, a scent, a symbol, a digit. It could be anything. Maybe it's just a sensation. So take a few breaths every morning. So you wake up, first 17 seconds of being awake, plant something positive in your body. Just maybe it's that, thank you so much for my home. It's, so many people don't have a home. Or maybe it's just, thank you so much for my health. And even if not every single thing about your health is at optimal levels, there's still good stuff here. Otherwise, you wouldn't be awake still. You wouldn't still be alive, right? And then from there, Find your physical heart, literally your palm onto your heart. And that can feel weird for a few people, but try it out. It'll get more and more comfortable with it. So we start our day with just breathing in and out of our heart, noticing our heartbeat, noticing the temperature of the body, and then just asking that super important question that we ask everyone else. You know, in England, we love asking people, how are you? It's the first thing people say. But how often do we ask ourselves that? So step one, check in with yourself every single morning. Start to be open to how you're feeling. And this thing, to make it really concrete, you're asking yourself, deep breath in, how do I feel? And with every exhale, you just allow for the answer to land. And you might notice maybe you're unsure. Maybe you're like, Josie, I never ask myself how I feel. And this is weird. So you are like a bit awkward. That's okay. And then maybe there's a part of you that feels in pain. Maybe part of you is grieving. And the deeper you breathe, because the breath, the body holds on to everything. When we're stressed, when we don't want to feel stuff, we breathe mainly in the upper part of our chest. When we are naturally nice and relaxed, we actually breathe deeply, naturally in and out of the belly. So take those nice deep belly breaths and really start to just become aware of how does it feel to be you today. No need to analyze it, no need to criticize it, and no need to make an action plan. If we can start to create a conversation with the body and noticing that sometimes being a human being can be a very contrasting experience, right? Part of our heart, part of our body can be excited about something. Yay, I'm going to do this podcast with Janum today. And then part of our body or part of our heart can be like, oh, my mom is getting older and I just don't see her enough. So two things can be true at once, right? And the more we can allow ourselves space to do that daily throughout the day, honestly, that's a good place to start. It's very simple, but there's no point in giving you lots of other, tools and tricks until you know how you're truly feeling. How could you possibly take action on anything that will give you anything, achieve anything, become anything, because you're not fully aware of who you actually are. So we have to start with who we are, and we have to get curious enough and courageous enough and willing enough to take those, could be like 2 minutes every morning, just 2 minutes before the world needs anything of you. And also, by the way, before the world tells you who you are and who you are not, your mom calling you going like, hey, Janum, have you done this thing? Right. Or whatever. Right. Or your boss going like, oh, you must do. No. Before the world tells you who you are and who you are not, check in with yourself. Every day start afresh, and every day practice self-compassion and self-forgiveness. It's okay to feel it all. Yeah.
Love that so much because it sounds really, really simple, but it's so deep. Like people who really do this, checking in with yourself, and actually what you're describing is really feeling your emotions. And not many people do that. Like it's crazy how many people don't know how they feel in each moment, even in bigger traumatic situations or even happy situations. People often don't know how they feel. And I know that because I often ask people how they feel. I do that all the time in inappropriate settings even. And people are always like, I don't know. I'm like, what do you mean you don't know? By the way, men are so much more disconnected from their emotions also through the way we are, raised in society, and, the way that I also feel like men are also hormonally less inclined to, as women, we go through like a 28-day cycle. So I feel like we are forced to, during the menstrual cycle, to literally, I feel like that. I don't know how you feel about that, but I feel like I'm forced to look into my depth and my sadness or something, or my whatever is going on that month. And I feel like men have that less, and so often I feel like they are specifically disconnected from their heart center, and it's kind of like, I don't know how I feel. I'm like, okay, well, I can tell you're this, sometimes the body, as you say, is responding, and you can tell how they're breathing or the way that they are triggered or whatever. But yeah, whatever. I'm opening a different topic there again. But basically, just super important what you said, because so many people are disconnected. And what did I want to say there? Oh yeah, with the energy levels. This is super interesting to me. I think that, as you said, being a human has so many contrasting experiences. You don't have to be jumping up and down all day long. Okay. And I think this is like a false belief that people have about the wellness culture. Like it's not about constantly being in like high on, on life all the time, but it's more about becoming who you really are, right? I mean, that's kind of how I would see it. But I noticed as well in myself that the more I'm on this journey of healing and, getting more in touch with myself, self-compassion, loving myself more, that when I'm in situations that feel wrong to me, oh my God, like I would call it fatigue. Like I'm
Mm.
literally tired. My body is tired. I'm just tired. So tell me, what is this? I mean, I can already tell inside of me kind of, but if people feel really exhausted all the time, and I watched this video the other day about a young girl, Gen Z, about how she's constantly tired. And I'm just like, guys, this is not normal. Like, we shouldn't normalize this. It is normal, but in a way it's unhealthy. And I feel like, and I want to know how you feel about this, because I feel like when I'm in a situation that I don't want to be in, even if it's something that people would consider small, I get really exhausted. So how do you feel about this? Also with your clients, maybe, or through your experience with this fatigue that's going on? Tell
Mm.
me.
Yeah, so I mean, what you're experiencing is super real, and I mean, energy is the most real thing we ever have. Think about it. Before you came to this planet, you were somewhere, and I mean, regardless of beliefs, etc. Something brought you to this planet. Something is keeping you on this planet. At some point, this something will take you away to wherever you believe. But the thing is, we have to understand that the very foundation of not just human life, but all life, that everything is alive, that everything is vibration, everything is energy, even my mic, as well as my rose. Everything is vibrating and we can't see it to the physical eye. And then we get a microscope and we're in there and we're like, oh my God, everything is alive, right? Like there's movement everywhere. And I know to a lot of people, it's like, no, this can't be true. Everything is moving. There is nothing that is stagnant. And because everything is moving, it holds its own frequency, it holds its own energy. Now, there's energy that is really well aligned. And it's not about, I really want to highlight this. It's not about being good or bad. It's not about being, this is yay, this is great, this is bad. It's not, or like really like, this is really advanced, this is really, beginner level. No, it's about the combination. And so just as it is in math or in physics, certain things work really well together. Certain energies, certain materials, certain atoms wants to bind, and when they bind, they kind of explode and they create a whole new thing, and it's amazing. And then there are other atoms that are like, they're not attracted to each other. They're the opposite, right? They're literally like, is it called revolt? Repulsed.
Repulsed. Yeah.
Repulsed, right? They're repulsed. They push away from each other, right? And so, but then what we can do as human beings, because we have free will, like you said, even though part of your atoms, part of your energy, your whole being of vibration, every single cell of your being, Janum, is like, I don't want to go there. Like you're actually feeling repulsed by the situation. But because of free will, you can push you can push your body through space and time, and you can demand of your beautiful body to sit down and be in a space of vibration where you are actually you're and think about it. You're every atom of your being are trying to push away. Why? Because that's the nature of the combination of you and this situation, or you and these people. But because you're a human being with free will, you're like, no, stay here. Mama told you to sit down and be still, right? And guess what? Guess what? So then what happens if you are trying with all your might to push together something that were never meant to be together? We can do it for a short amount of time, right? But it's draining. It drains our energy. Now, this is not spirituality, darling. This is math. This is science. Having two massive magnets and they want to pull apart, but you're pushing them in. This would be draining for anyone.
Yeah, I love how you describe that with the energies, literally not being a match. You know how spiritual teachers, they often say, you're not a match to that situation. But I never looked at it specifically with the atoms, like how you're describing it. That's literally quantum physics, guys, right? You're not vibrating well with that place or that situation. Call it whatever, an intuition, a feeling, a gut feeling. But I love how you also meant through your dancer journey, I think you have a very amazing, unique viewpoint on all of this because you're so in touch with your body. And so, um, as you said, your body is never against you, right? But
Mm.
people often think their body is against them, especially chronic illness and bigger illnesses, that people go
Mm-hmm.
through. And I don't want to minimize that pain. It's absolutely real. But can you talk maybe a little bit about that? Because through your specific, unique perspective, because when I do my shamanic healing, I talked about this with another healer on the show. Sometimes my body starts shaking because it's like getting rid of the trauma, or anybody who has experienced anxiety before, or you can feel your heartbeat and things in your body and these signs. Can you talk a little bit about, again, or more in detail, how your body is sending you these signs and that it's not against us, even if it sometimes feels like that?
Mm. Yeah. I mean, again, there's a few questions in this one question,
Yeah,
but
sorry.
no, don't worry, it's all good. Um, so I think you know, first and foremost, again, if we start from the beginning of alignment, when we live in alignment, so you were mentioning in the beginning here that it's a new thing for you to do this podcast, but you've been wanting to do it for a long time, and you called it flow. You're like, when I'm doing this, I feel so happy, I feel so at ease, I feel in flow. It's like you're not pushing, right? You're not pushing yourself. You're not pushing every atom of your being to sit here in front of the screen, right? This was easy. You even got here so early because it
Yeah.
was so easy, right? So there's a sense of ease, there's a sense of grace, there's a sense of, oh yeah, like this is light, this is good, this feels nice. So you are in alignment with everything that your soul came here to learn and also to share, right? And when you live in alignment with that, everything kind of feels easy. And when, of course, even, there will be challenges, and yes, you will get time zone wrong or whatever, but it will be minor hiccups, and it won't feel like you're literally completely drained and now super fatigued, right? But again, so we're coming back to the word alignment. And again, we have to understand that in order to even to even begin to take action on living in alignment, we have to understand how we're truly feeling. So we went back to the first thing, right? Which is every day, continue to ask yourself, how do I feel? And how can I best support myself in this moment? And we also have to understanding that we have to choose to understand. We have to choose to decide that it's okay to feel good. It is okay to actually want to feel good. Because like you mentioned in the beginning of the podcast, if we have this, everything is a layer in humanity as an experience, right? If our foundational understanding, if our foundational belief about life is that life is supposed to be hard or life is always hard, then we will choose experiences that mirror that back to us. And then we can go, ha, I told you so. Life is always hard for me, right? We have to choose a different a different foundational belief, and that's a choice each human being must make for themselves. No one else can do it for you. You yourself must choose to go, maybe there's another way. Maybe life doesn't have to be just one big dark cloud, right? But if we take that foundational belief that, okay, you know what? I actually think there's a lighter way, a kinder way, a more fun way, right? So if we start out there, and then we start with there, and every day we decide to go, okay, hang on, as a human being, what's actually my main job as a human being? Not what you do for a living, not how you make your money. That's all good stuff, but it's secondary. First of all, we have to go, well, at least that's my belief. First of all, we have to go, my biggest job on this planet is to keep my own energy as high as I can. And again, like you said, it's not Disney high. It's not like, all the time. But how can I make sure that my own energy is in a good spot? It's in a good spot when I am living in alignment with what is truly in my heart, when I'm living in alignment with my values. What are my values? And how do I feel, right? Until we start continuing to check in with ourselves and going, this is how I feel, we can't create a different reality. So, in short, yes, illnesses as well, and you're not taking anything away from that. But until, as a human being, we reach a point within ourselves where we go, oh my God, I feel something. And I don't want to feel that way. So we have to understand that when we're having a feeling that doesn't feel good, we need to have had developed a practice that goes, I don't like not feeling good. I want to get out of there. Like you said in the beginning of the podcast, as a race, we attach so much a sense of identity to not feeling good that so often we stay there for way too long. We're like, I don't feel good. And you meet your friend and she's like, I don't feel good. She's got a cold, right? And you're like, yeah, no, I'm sorry. And you're like, here's some nice ginger tea. Have you maybe take a few days off? And she's like, no, 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 I couldn't do that. And then you meet her the following week and she's like, I don't feel good. But now not only does she have a cold, she's got she's got the flu. And you're like, oh no, here's some even better ginger and here's some turmeric, and now maybe take some time off. And she's like, oh no, no, I couldn't do that. Then you meet her on week 3.
Yeah.
Now this cold developed into flu. The flu is now developed into some awful, I can't even say the word, it developed into something that the doctor would call chronic, right? Chronic inflammation, right? She's like, I've got kidney stones, Janum, right? And you're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Here's a good crystal, and will you please go home and take your antibiotics as well? But most importantly, will you now go home and take some time out? And at this point, due to necessity, because and I'm sorry for the graphic, but now she's like peeing blood, she finally reached a point inside herself where she goes, oh my God, I want to feel better. But that took 3 weeks.
Oh my God.
And my loves, my listeners out there, all the love to people that are going through a really challenging time right now. And I know this can sound so woo-woo, and it can sound so like, oh yeah, it's easy for Josie, right? Like, she's created a life that she loves. This has been a daily practice of mine ever since I can remember. I've always wanted to continue to find different ways where I myself could feel better, could get to a point within me where I was like, I want to feel better. Because until something deep within us really want to feel better, like that example, Janum's friend did not really want to feel better until after week 3. After week 3, when her being out of alignment, with her not feeling good, reached a point where she finally was like, oh my God, I deserve to feel better. But that took her 3 weeks. If she had had a voice inside of her that said, I deserve to feel better, the minute she started to feel like a bit depleted and her energy was down, and she noticed she was having a sniffle, and she was noticing it was turning into a cold, but even before it turned into a cold, if she had a voice inside of her that with every bone, every inch of her being was like, I deserve to feel better, then even after the first signs of not feeling good, she would have left the situation, she would have canceled plans, she would have taken a whole day out for herself. And again, if you're on a really stressful work, I get it. But guess what? Throughout all of time and all of space, there will only be one you. And until you decide that you deserve to feel good, no job, no money, no nothing will ever give you what you want. You have to want it for you. And we all get there in different ways, in different places. So there's never just one practice, like we were mentioning, you do your gorgeous shamanic healing. I also studied shamanic healing. I loved it. There's so many different gorgeous things out there for everyone. But really on the deepest level, we all must, and we do in different times, on different paths, we must reach a place within ourselves where we go, there's got to be a better way. I deserve to feel better. And instead of leaving it 3 weeks until you decide I deserve to feel better, if you can do that after 2 minutes and you can do it throughout your day, then you're going to start to feel your energy is so much brighter, and you're going to start to naturally want to create a life, to create relationships, to create spaces and places in everyday life, like the smallest things will start to feel good. Why? Because it's coming from a space within you of going, I deserve to feel good. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's I love how you explained that. So you explained it so well. I love it. Because you're talking actually also about self-love. And for me, I don't know how you I will ask you how you define it, but the way I define self-love is to kind of always take, all of these parts of yourself, to fully love them. to fully take them in. So even parts of yourself that you are ashamed of, or parts of yourself that you don't, that sometimes make it harder for you and they can feel like self-sabotage, I kind of always look at them like, through my shamanic work, obviously, I always look at them as inner children, kind of, it's you as a 5-year-old, it's you as a, even if it's you as a 25-year-old, but it is a part of you, right? So when we can really like practice empathy there and like take it in and look at their perspective and why they feel that way, to almost treat it as a different human in a way. It is you, but it helps if you visualize or, go in there. But to me, that is really self-love, because what happens through that continuous practice is that at one point you are always kind of in touch with yourself. And then, as you mentioned, Josie or Josephine, is like, you just you will not wait 3 weeks or 3 months or 3 years. You will maybe only do it in 3 days or maybe 3 hours, okay, until you realize something. Or but how would you define self-love? Because I know you wrote a book on this as well, right?
Yeah.
How can people practice it?
I think one of the nicest things and an easy way to go is to go, actually, I want to make this a personal experience. I hope that's okay. I reached a point within myself where I started to go, because for me, it was always about my purpose. And it wasn't like an outside purpose. It was more like I wanted so deeply to do the best for humanity. Just like, and I've just always felt like that since I was a little teeny tiny kid. I was like, I know I'm here to help people, and I'm not quite sure what the best way is, So hence why I did all these different things. And they all sort of like was, a branch that got added onto the tree as the tree was growing, right? It was a very natural progression. But it always came from the same place of, I just really want to help people to help themselves. I want to remind people of who they are. I want to inspire people that there is a kinder way. But long story short, one day I realized that, again, it goes back to the self-love, because one day I realized that actually my biggest job, and it's so simple, my biggest job is to keep falling back in love with all aspects of me. And why? Because self-love is not vanity. It's not being selfish. It is a necessity. Because the minute I fall out of love with a part of myself, the minute I blame or shame a part of myself, I'll be looking for validation in someone else. Any aspects of myself that I have not accepted, that I do not love, I will be literally desperately demanding that those parts get loved and attention from other people outside of myself. Look at it this way. So again, we go back to Janum's friend that had a cold, right? So again, remember, all dis-ease, illness, but dis-ease, being slightly out of balance, all of that physical stuff comes when we are not living in alignment with our values. And we fall out of alignment with ourselves so quickly the minute we start to blame or shame aspects of ourselves. So what you were talking about, Janum, looking at yourself as having many different personalities and many different children. And each child represents an aspects of your psyche, right? An aspects of your ancestry, an aspect of your DNA. And there's some of these aspects that are super easy to love. So, I can see your beautiful, all your different fabrics behind you. So Janum is like, I love the part of me that loves beautiful, soft things, right? I love the part of me that represents, different beautiful tribes from all around the world. I love the part of me that is an adventurous traveling spirit. Now, then there are other parts of me that have been a little more difficult to love, right? And, the more Janum, the more you do that gorgeous work that you do of going, this is interesting. Can we get curious? There's a part of me that kind of like, that really quickly feels that you can't trust. There's a part of me that's like, oh, I can't trust this new situation. I can't trust this new person. And then there's even this, I can't even trust myself, right? And so there's a part of me that finds it difficult to trust. And instead of just going, oh, I'm going to push her away, I'm going to push this little inner child away, that all this little inner child is doing. They're reaching out their hands and they're going, please hold me, hug me, and tell me that I'm safe. But until we allow ourselves to do that, if we notice that we're walking around and we're having this feeling of like, I'm alone and I can't trust life and I can't trust anyone, but the minute we feel it, if we immediately push that away, we are essentially abandoning ourselves. And when we
Exactly.
self-abandon, the first thing we do is we look outside of ourselves and we're like, please bring me home. Please choose me. Do not reject me. Even though we ourselves was the first one to abandon ourselves, right? And so in my book, Fall in Love with You, one of the it's actually a collection of sort of channeled messages, and one of the messages goes, "You are the one you have been longing for. You are the one you have been longing for." And so again, what is self-love? It is the desire to every day in every way practice coming home to our own truth, all aspects of ourselves, loving all aspects of ourselves. Because when I am in love with all aspects of me, and that doesn't mean it doesn't make me an arrogant person. It doesn't mean that
Exactly.
they're not aspects of myself that I'm working on developing, because again, developing, what is really development? It's movement, and everything in this universe always moves. Remember, we went back to physics. Everything is energy, everything is movement. So we will always have a natural desire towards working on certain aspects of our personality, our character, even our physicality, right? Maybe you want to get more flexible. That's a desire. That's beautiful. That can be empowering. You know, but having the desire and then the discipline, the motivation to every single day in every way, choosing to fall in love with all aspects of you that you find within yourself, even your jealousy, even
Mhm.
your envy, all of it, not trying to push those kids out. Because every time I do that, I don't need you to do it for me, right? So self love, honestly, self love and the practice of it is not vanity, it is a necessity for peace on earth. It's so simple. It's so simple, and that's why it's the last place we look.
Yeah, that's exactly, guys. This is everything. Oh my God, Josie, I'm talking with you for the first time now, but like I love you so much. I don't know, I want to be friends with you. By the way, you're channeling me. Like I don't want to sound like super woo now for people who are not used to this, but you're literally channeling my thoughts because like I'm having when you was talking about like the self love and stuff. I was thinking because I was watching today actually something on how plastic surgery is getting more and more normal nowadays, and we're so used to seeing these faces that are not natural that we're kind of also forgetting how unnatural it is. But at one point we wake up from this and we're like, why does this person look so weird? And it's and I thought about this actually today, and then also you touched on the relationship thing, which I want to talk about. But just quickly to finish off this plastic surgery thought that I have right now is that for me, that's absolute self-hate, and I get it. And, I understand that people are so insecure, and I get it as a woman, and we want to look pretty, and I absolutely get it. Oh my God, I get it so much, and I used to be a cabin crew, and all these girls, pretty girls in Dubai, oh my God, the baby, I cannot, he's so cute. Oh my goodness.
No.
Oh my God, I love dogs so much. I cannot. But I really, really, I really get it. I get this desire to want to look beautiful, and that women, can feel jealousy and insecurity. But it is absolutely for me a pushing away of self. And so for my question always there would be like, do you? Because I don't know, like I'm thinking about this right now because I do ancestral healing too. And it's a specific type of nose is considered beautiful in society, but I'm like, but my nose is the nose of my grandmother and my ancestry, and who it represents, who I am ethnically even, so it's like you cut that away and you push it, put a new different. It's, to me, it's like such a sad. I don't want to be judgmental, and I don't judge because I really understand it, but it is just so the opposite to me of self-love. And it was just like, it just popped into my head as well when you talked about the, the physical aspects that we are not loving or loving, but I wanted to talk as well about relationships, because I think you also, what you don't love in yourself and what you have not found like alignment yet, we often attract in relationships. Okay. So I don't know if you talk about relationships, but I want to talk with you about relationships as well, because let's say you suppress your anger, and then you find a boyfriend and he's someone who's very expressively angry, and it triggers you because you have suppressed it so much, and now you're with this angry man, and you're like, why does this annoy me so much? You know, and obviously I'm not talking about, like, let's say he's not angry at you, and but like it's something, or he's just someone who's expressing his anger a lot, and you can't do that, and so now you're in the situation, and it's really triggering. So I like to use relationships a lot to look into myself. How do you see all of that? The attraction, the romantic relationships, or even friendships.
Janum, I love this. So I do a lot of relationship therapy as well, relationship counseling, because we are always in relationship. We are in relationship with me to 500 Josies, and me to my dog, and me and the house, and we're all me and my clothes. Like, we're always in relationship, and we want to relate. To relate means to connect, right? Like, it's beautiful. We want, as a human being, our deepest need as a human being, apart from obviously air, is actually to belong. We deeply long to belong. And again, on the deepest level, what we really long to belong to is we long to belong to ourselves. But again, we never look inside ourselves, so we always look outside. And that is why when we fall in love, let's use the example of this man who is who expresses his anger a lot, and you are this woman that have always tried to suppress your anger. We will not go into why, but this is the situation. You meet this man, you're like, oh, I'm so attracted to this man, and then after the week one, you're like, oh, this is so good. He expresses who he is. And then all of a sudden the anger is pushed towards you, or you are in a public situation where a waiter does not give the menu card on time, and all of a sudden this boyfriend of yours is now having a fit, and now you don't like that anger so much, right? Now you're like, now it's not passion, now it's embarrassing. And it makes me feel anxious, right? So, but what's interesting is you fell in love with him. What you actually fell in love with, because he holds a key to your liberation. What you fell in love with is that he is so at peace with a part of himself that you have completely pushed away. So you are actually in love with the fact that he is fully at peace. He is in love with the part of him that is angry, and he easily expresses it. And that's why you're attracted to him. He's actually there to help you become more at peace with your own anger. It's a beautiful thing. But of course, like in everyday reality, that can be really harsh concepts, right? And it's like, wow, because as all, I'll tell you one of mine. So one of mine, this is a personal one, is that because I'm so empathetic, and again, this is my natural makeup, this is my default setting, is I always think a lot about, how will my words impact this other person? How will my behavior impact this other person? And because my desire is always to bring peace, when I was younger, it was very difficult for me to express anger as well, but especially also even express a point of view that may be in contrast to people around me, because I didn't want to disturb the peace, right? And so by doing this, I thought I was doing a really good thing. But then I would be so attracted to these people, both in, men and women, that just were super free with how they expressed themselves, almost carefree to the point of arrogance at times, and also, sometimes could come across really hurtful. Of course, I was not in love with the hurtful part, but the fact that they were so at ease with themselves, they were so at ease with that aspect of themselves, that they kind of, in a way, instead of being so concerned about how the whole world was, they were just concerned about how they felt, right? and right. And so I would be attracted to these people, and then I would be with them. And what really had drawn me in, which was them just fully expressing themselves, then after a while, of course, I was like, ooh, now this was hurtful, right? But it did help me. They helped me so much to start, because just, we are the people we spend the most time with. We are the people that we listen to, that we read about, that we watch, that we really tune into. And we are actually here to always awaken qualities within ourselves. And so I think this is a really good example. And so now, this doesn't mean that if you're in a relationship, again, listeners out there, and I've been there so much. I mean, it doesn't mean that if you find yourself in a relationship where you're like, oh, okay, this is really challenging, but I feel like I'm awakening something. Instead of blaming it on the other person, always take full responsibility. You're choosing to be here. You're choosing to be with this person. And what you would call triggering is actually activating something within you. And now, once this activation has happened, once you take full ownership, so for instance, if you are now with this guy who easily expresses his anger, once you allow yourself to be at peace with the fact that a part of you has anger, once you become really a genius, once you become a professional woman who can easily set firm boundaries, which is what anger really is. So anger in its purest form, there's always shadows to everything, right? Anger, when expressed in its purest form, is so beautiful. The anger ignites you. It comes up to go, Janam, this doesn't feel good. Let's put a boundary, right?
Yes.
And if we put the boundary sooner in the conversation, then everyone knows where we're going, and everyone knows what agreement they're saying yes to or what agreements they're walking away from. So anger in its purest form is actually crazy beautiful. So now we go back to you and the relationship with the guy that's angry, right? So once you within yourself have reached a point within yourself where you have decided, actually, this part of me that at times feels angry, we can call her Henna. I don't know why. She's got red hair. She arises. And Henna is there to remind you, Janum, that, hey, you are now about to go out of alignment with yourself, babe. Like, hey, put down that boundary. You're going to come to dinner at 8, or you're not coming at dinner at all. Because for you, Janum, you have to have dinner at 8, because otherwise your digestion is going to be ruined. You're not going to sleep well. And tomorrow you've got a beautiful day, and you love yourself so much that you want to be in the best possible energy, because we both know that when Janum is in good energy, she is overspilling into all of her relations. So the only job Janum actually has is to stand up for herself and put that boundary. So when Janum, or whoever else it is, has made peace and invited in Henna to the table, Henna being the goddess of anger, then she actually no longer, what might happen then is that she may realize that the relationship with Mr. Angry, if Mr. Angry has not developed and is still just kind of similar to how he was in the beginning, then the relationship between Janum, or whoever this person was, and the angry man, it may have run its course. It's no longer of service. And then that can be the difficult part, knowing, again, the same thing, knowing when is this activating me? When have I learned what I need to learn? And when is it time to let it go? Knowing that letting go does not mean giving up, does not mean failing, meaning, hey, thank you so much. We taught each other so much, and now it's time for something new.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. That's a beautiful description of how it kind of works. And I feel like sometimes when I do shadow work and when I do these healing modalities, that obviously I change, coming out of them a changed person. And then what happens is sometimes people part ways, and like you lose people. But also sometimes what can happen is that people around you change. I don't know how that works. Okay, now this is like about what even is reality, and like, what even is, I don't know. I believe in parallel realities, and that, whatever anyone believes out there. But I had the experience of people in my life, family members and relationships with people where they changed after I did work. So that's also possible. I don't know exactly again how that works, but but often you have to take action after being aware, because you cannot sit in your old life after you've changed something so deeply within you, right? So this is also, I guess, what you do, right? You help people, put themselves onto this like path that feels right for them. And I'm thinking lately a lot about as well, like being of service, and what does that mean to me? Because I never really liked that. I was kind of always a bit against it, because I was so much on my own inner self-love journey that I was like, I cannot right now think about anybody but me, I mean, that doesn't mean I was an asshole, but like I was still, but I was just like, I just never really actively wanted to think about being of service, because I was like, no, I first have to just love myself and be in a position myself where I can, be that for me. And so then naturally, doing more what I love doing, I realized that, for example, this thing that I love doing, which I am doing right now, is actually being of service, and it doesn't take from me. It's like giving without taking away from you. So how do you feel about this thing in regards as well with people's purpose, and what being in the flow and.
100%. So again, goes back to the foundational belief about life. So if we believe that we're here to struggle, then we will have this idea that in order to be of service, I must sacrifice, I must self-sacrifice, and I must become almost crippled with pain, and then I'm in service. I know I'm making this, super exaggerating it, but if we take the different mindset, and this is a choice, if we choose to go, actually, I'm here to have a really good time. I'm here to absolutely have the most amazing time. And when we are naturally having an amazing time, and as long as, of course, that doesn't involve hurting other people, just, making that very clear. But in general, when you do something with your time on this planet, and this can be work related, but also, again, going back to everyday life, just make it really simple. If you love yoga, do yoga. If you love music, listen to music. Like whatever it is that you naturally have a joy for. And if you are an adult listening to this and you're like, Josie, I've just wiped out joy from my list. There is no space. I just need money for my next rent, whatever, right? Then maybe just go back and just remind yourself, like, what did you used to love as a child, as a teenager? Maybe it was just the ocean. Maybe it was the sound of water. Maybe you really loved just on a rainy day sitting inside and just listening to the water, outside. I don't know, something as simple as that. Start to do more of whatever it is that brings you a little slither of joy, right? And as you do that, what you will notice is your energy levels are going to increase. Why? Because something within you is in complete alignment with that something that you're choosing to do, with that someone that you're choosing to be around. And when you are in that state, then you are literally, like you said, you're in the flow. You're receiving energy and you're releasing energy, but you're in a continual flow of receiving and giving, receiving and giving. And when we're in this state, which is the natural state, by the way, for all human beings, until the brain kicks in and go, no, by the way, I was supposed to be struggling. And we decide to be like, let me go out there and try to push against someone that I'm not attracted to, but I'll make myself through free will, use huge amount, exert a lot of energy, and I'll be here and I'll sit here, and now I'm drained, but then I'm fulfilling the self-fulfilling prophecy of like, I'm supposed to be in pain, right? So very long story. Start out finding, write a list. I always ask people to write a joy list, and it can sound, again, so hippie, like, oh, really? Is that going to change anything? I'm like, it's going to change everything.
Everything.
It's going to change everything. Our life is made out of everyday moments. It's made out of the everyday choices, how we choose to spend our time on this planet. And for those of you, again, I love a good number. Most people are awake for 16 hours a day. That's sort of just a general average, right? And a lot of people tend to work minimum maybe 8 hours. But if you're working 8 hours and you're awake for 16, well, that leaves you with 8 hours for yourself. Those 8 hours for yourself, what are you spending time doing? And I'm not talking about the big stuff. I'm talking about the teeny tiny stuff. If you are on social media watching someone that makes you feel bad, don't do it. Bad about yourself, right? If you are reading, listening to something that doesn't make you feel good, don't do it. If there's a roadblock, it's not there to punish you, my love. It's there to like knock on your door and go, hey, go the other way. There's a much better street over here for you.
It's
the everyday moments.
It is absolutely. I know oh my God, we're already so much time past. I didn't realize, but something that I do every day that is people might find cringy, but it changes everything. Like me and my partner in the evening, we say something that we are both grateful for in the other person that day, and it can be something really small. It can be something like, thank you for going grocery shopping for me today, or for bringing me that ice cream that I like. It can be something really small, but when like I implemented this in our relationship, and it's been amazing because this is proven, right? People who literally focus on gratitude and good things that they've done throughout the day, that they are grateful for, or that the other person did for them, or whatever it is, they literally change their brain, and it literally makes you happier, and it will make you actually focus more on these things, because in the evening, even if it's subconscious, but in the evening you will tell your partner again what you're grateful for that day. So I think that's such an easy and beautiful thing. I guess your list is probably similar, right? Your what did you call it? Joy list?
A joy list. Absolutely. And I love this practice. And me and my partner do it as well. So every night before dinner, we just take a moment to share about our days. But and of course, sometimes like something we need to talk about because there might be a challenge. There's a roadblock. So we need to choose which street we're going to walk down, right? But we don't do it from a space of despair and anger and wow. It's just like, this thing has happened. Okay, what are the other options, right? So we approach everything with a sense of curiosity. And the same thing, because everything is accumulative. So think about it. We usually spend probably like anything from 15 minutes to an hour and a half, depending on how we go, talking about our day. So if you do that for a week, for a month, for a year, for 10 years, for 20 years, that takes up a huge chunk of your life. And if all those conversations you had were actually really beautiful, we're just reminding one another of like, hey, there's good stuff in life, right? And then anything that we not just talk about, but anything. So the more we talk about something, what really starts to happen is we start to attach a meaning to the story, right? The meaning holds a feeling. Once you have a feeling, you're having an emotion about it, it's in the body. Once it's in the body doesn't it has its own intelligence, but it doesn't differentiate between future, present, and past. That means whatever you are attaching a story to. So for instance, me and Jenna right now, we're on this podcast and we're like, this is a good time. So we're sitting here, we're talking about these amazing concepts, these rituals that we have, practices. And both Jenna and me are like, we are having a good time. We are attaching this story that this is a good time, right? What does a good time feel like? So then our brains are telling our bodies this is a good time. After a little while, once we keep talking, we've been here for a while now, my brain is now starting to release dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin. That means my whole body is being flushed with chemicals of happy hormones. That means my body starts to feel really safe. That means right now, because my body doesn't realize, is this the future, is this the past, is this the now? All it has is this is the now, which means the body's like, oh my God, Josie's having such a good time. So then my body is going to start to relax, right? My body's going to start to, and what does the body do? When the body feels safe enough to relax, it starts to repair. When it starts to repair, it means it does not matter how many sick people you were around, how many crazy, difficult things you faced during the day or whatever, because right now, and for the body, there's only now, always now, the body's like, oh, we're going to repair. So they're sending out all the good troops, right? Repairing the body. Long story short, this gratitude practice, it works not just cognitively, not just mentally. Yes, you're changing your pathways within your brain, which is amazing. You're starting to accept and expect positive outcomes, which is amazing. But what you're really doing is you're changing your biology. That means you're creating much healthier cells. You're creating a stronger immune system, and overall energy levels are going to be high. So bringing it back to the body, bringing it back to something very tangible, choosing to speak about experiences that actually makes you feel amazing. It can also be, choosing to when you're planning for the future and you get really excited about it. Again, the key to noticing whether the experience you're having will impact you positively or negatively is always going back to the body. Does this make me feel good? What I'm talking about, what I'm thinking about, whether that was in the past or in the future or it's happening right here, right now, keep going back, check in. Does this make me feel good? Even relaxed, nice and peaceful? Does it make me feel excited? Whatever it is, or does it make me feel inspired, right? Does it make me feel passionate? Anything that gets your body into a state of going, I'm having a good moment right now. Keep doing more of that, because the body does not differentiate between whether we are predicting the future, whether we're talking about something that happened in the past. Because the flip side of that, just briefly, Jenna, I know I'm talking forever, but the flip side of this, every single time we can have risk thoughts, we can have negative thoughts. That's not in itself a problem. What becomes a problem, because we all have bodies, right? What becomes a problem is what you're choosing to think about. And we can say that it's something that you're worried about the future, or maybe you're agonizing over what took place in the past. if you keep thinking those thoughts, and then if you think those thoughts and you start attaching a meaning to them where you're like, ooh, this is not a good thought. And then you notice your heart rate starts to increase, and your body is now responding as if it's happening right here, right now. So that means now your body is in a state of stress, high cortisol levels, adrenals are going off. Your whole body's like, damn, we're in a state of emergency, right? And so your thoughts, what you're choosing, not, fleeting thoughts, fine. But the thoughts that you keep chewing over, anything that you're chewing over and now having a physical experience for more than 25 seconds is the body will register as this is happening right here, right now. Yeah. So choose what you choose to chew over wisely, because it really changes your biology. And your
Yeah,
biology impacts your behavior, and your behavior impacts and literally creates your entire reality. So always coming back
exactly.
to how you feel. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And just to add to that, I mean, I don't even believe that time is linear at all. I mean, what even is past? It's just something in your brain.
100%.
Like every memory is created in the now. Every future, vision of, I want to do this and that tomorrow is created in the now. So there is only now. But if there's only one eternal moment of now, of
Mhm.
course, if you sit there and and I love shadow work. I don't want to say you shouldn't do this, but you should do this type of work where you go deep into a trauma, deep into a bad emotion. You should do it consciously. You should sit
Mm.
there, in my opinion, and really go into it and give yourself the space. But if you don't have the time and you're at work right now and you linger on something and
Mm.
you can't really be there for yourself right now fully, then it makes no real sense to linger on these things, because
No.
your body, as you say, it's just like, oh, it's now. Now is the thing that happened. Now, it's happening again, or, whatever.
That's
They
it,
have,
exactly. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, but that's,
100%.
yeah. And it's so important. And like, oh my God, I'm just realizing I didn't even look at my questions list, but, you know, I have at the end of my interviews. I don't like to call them interviews, conversations. I have like a rapid fire round. So I'm going to ask you like a few questions and I just want you to answer real short and quickly and not think about it much. All right, let's start. What's one practice that you do every morning, no matter where you are?
Gratitude.
Um, what's a belief that you had 10 years ago that you no longer believe?
That I wasn't worthy.
I love it. You're great at this. You're in the flow. What's your favorite grounding ritual?
Bare feet in nature.
Right. What's a book that changed the way you see the world?
My own book, The Morning Miracle. Yeah.
Um, what is one word that describes your life right now?
Joy.
Yay! Thank you so much, Josie. Josie, can I call you Josie? I
Yeah,
think
of
you called
course.
yourself
Yeah.
Josie. Oh, I love this so much. This was wonderful. You're such a light. I love it. Like I had so much fun. I didn't even look at my thing. This is how much I was in the flow too. So, I love this so much. Thank you so much for being on my podcast.
Oh my God, Janum, this is amazing. This was so beautiful. I had the best time. Thank you so much for inviting me here. And yeah, I just if I can leave any last little notes, for listeners out there, however you're feeling today, however you felt last week, last year, last lifetime, whatever you're worried about in the future, whatever it is, there is a kinder way. And keep asking yourself, what if being kind to me could change everything? And just remember that there's no limit to how good you are allowed to feel. And that's it.
I love that so much. Thank you so much, Josie. And thank you guys so much for listening or watching today. Everything about Josie will be in the video description below. You can look at her stuff over there. And thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this conversation, like, share, subscribe. It really helps with the algorithm. I want to be one of those content creators that puts out light, okay? Like we want to do positive change here. And so please help me achieve that and share it with someone that you love or they think could really benefit from this type of conversation. Thank you guys so much and see you next week. Bye.